When a national security leak shakes Washington, the country expects swift action, not confusion. Yet what unfolded in that hearing room left everyone stunned. Lawmakers sat there, jaws tight, watching the FBI director stumble through answers about a leak that had already made headlines days before. And the person demanding clarity wasn't just another politician grandstanding, it was Representative Chrissy Holohan, visibly frustrated that she, a member of Congress, knew about the breach before the nation's top law enforcement officer. She leans forward, calm but firm. "Director, I just learned recently that you only heard about this yesterday, which blows my mind since I heard about it 2 days ago." The room goes silent. Patel shifts slightly in his seat. "The exact timeline I'm not aware of," he says carefully, "but yeah, I think it was yesterday or the night before."
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Director Patel, I learned just recently that you only heard about this yesterday, which blows my mind since I heard about it 2 days ago, and I'm just a low on the dais, junior chipmunk here. Did you really only hear about this yesterday?
The exact timeline I'm not aware of, but yeah, I think it was yesterday or the night
And
before.
now that another day has passed, do you
Well,
believe,
actually, it was the night before the hearing.
now that another day has passed, do you believe that it's now time potentially for the FBI to open an investigation into this?
I'm not going to comment on that
Because you're the director of the FBI, you don't believe it's appropriate to comment on that?
because there's a process in place, there's an ongoing litigation, and the National Security Council is reviewing this matter. And I'm not going to discuss any open or closed
That
investigations.
ongoing investigation, literally, the lawsuit happened today or yesterday afternoon, and the idea that you don't have an opinion on this at this point is frustrating to me.
No, it's not.
My
I'm not
final
going to
question,
prejudge any
reclaiming my
matters,
time, my
and the men
final
and women of the
question, reclaiming my
FBI will
time, reclaiming
call
my
the
time,
balls and strikes.
reclaiming my time,
not
sir.
you.
Sir, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have.
Gentlewoman's recognized. You have
Thank
4
you.
seconds remaining.
No, I have more than
You have
that
2
because
seconds
Mr.
remaining.
Patel would not acknowledge
Gentlewoman's
me.
time has expired. Mr. Stubbe.
To anyone watching, that answer sounded unthinkable. A top national security breach, and the FBI director admits he's barely up to speed. The tension rises. She pushes again. "Now that another day has passed, do you believe it's time to open an investigation?" Patel stiffens. "I'm not going to comment on that." She fires back, "Because you're the director of the FBI, you don't believe it's appropriate to comment." His reply is almost robotic. "There's a process in place, ongoing litigation and review by the National Security Council. I won't discuss any open or closed investigations." Holohan shakes her head, frustrated. The clock ticks. The room feels heavy. When the chairman cuts her off, it feels less like the end of her time and more like the moment trust began to crack. What makes this exchange so gripping isn't just the words, it's what they reveal about the system itself. You've got a lawmaker demanding accountability and a top official deflecting behind procedure. To the public, that sounds like a cover-up. To insiders, it's protocol. But somewhere between those two realities lies the truth, and it's why this moment has everyone asking, how could the FBI be caught off guard by a leak this serious? Let's rewind. The leak in question wasn't some minor memo, it involved communications that, according to reports, touched on highly sensitive government discussions. Lawmakers described it as a breach that could compromise the safety of American operations abroad. The details are still murky, but here's what's known: messages from a secure government network were somehow exposed. Some suggest they came from a classified group chat involving national security officials. Others hint that a whistleblower may have been behind it. But no matter how it happened, the story exploded online before the agency responsible for investigating it even acknowledged it existed. So when Representative Holohan confronted Patel, it wasn't just about procedure, it was about trust. She knew the story had been circulating for at least 48 hours. She'd seen the reports. She'd heard the whispers. Yet the man tasked with protecting classified information said he'd only learned of it last night. That wasn't just a gap in communication, it was a symbol of something bigger, a disconnect between leadership and reality. In national security, hours can make the difference between containment and catastrophe. A delay in awareness can mean foreign actors have already copied, shared, or weaponized information. And while Patel's defenders might argue that investigations require discretion, Holohan's frustration mirrored what many Americans felt: shouldn't the FBI be leading the charge, not catching up to the news cycle? When pressed, Patel repeated the same line: ongoing litigation, internal review, can't comment. It was the kind of bureaucratic shield that's meant to protect the agency but often ends up damaging its credibility instead. because to the public silence sounds like evasion, especially when lawmakers are asking simple questions like, "Are you investigating?" and getting non-answers in return. This isn't the first time we've seen this movie. Washington has a long history of high-profile leaks, and every time, it's the same pattern: outrage, confusion, delay, and eventually finger-pointing. From defense secrets to diplomatic cables, leaks test the balance between transparency and security. Lawmakers want swift accountability, agencies insist on slow, methodical process, but when those two collide, it's the public that loses confidence. In this case, Patel's approach highlights that very divide. His refusal to commit wasn't necessarily a sign of guilt or indifference, it was a reflection of how deeply ingrained the culture of caution is within America's intelligence community. Every word a director says in public can ripple through the entire system. One comment could trigger stock drops, diplomatic strain, or even legal battles. But there's a difference between protecting investigations and projecting apathy, and that's where Holohan struck a nerve. Viewers watching the hearing could feel the frustration. Here was a member of Congress, armed with facts and urgency, facing off against a director who seemed unwilling or unable to speak plainly. And behind the calm political theater, a deeper question lingered: if the FBI director is the last to know, who's really in control? Let's not forget, this wasn't happening in isolation. Reports suggested that multiple government bodies were scrambling to assess the damage, each trying to determine if the leak was internal sabotage, external hacking, or something else entirely. The National Security Council had already begun its own review, and legal filings were starting to surface, indicating that lawsuits tied to the breach were already in motion. That's what Patel meant by ongoing litigation. But that explanation, though technically true, failed to answer what everyone actually wanted to know: is anyone doing something about it right now? The irony is that both sides were right in their own way. Patel's job demands restraint, Holohan's job demands urgency. And when those two instincts clash in front of cameras, it creates exactly the kind of viral confrontation that spreads online faster than any classified memo ever could. Clips of the exchange flooded social media, comment sections lit up with outrage, memes, and speculation. Some accused Patel of hiding information, others accused Holohan of grandstanding for headlines. But beneath the noise, the hearing had revealed a fundamental flaw: our system's inability to move fast when the truth demands it. What's also fascinating is how this incident exposes the cultural tension inside Washington. Lawmakers like Holohan represent the public-facing branch of government. They answer to voters who expect transparency. But officials like Patel operate in a shadowed world of protocols, clearances, and red tape, where silence is sometimes the only safe move. Both believe they're defending democracy, yet their definitions of defense couldn't be more different. And that's what made this moment so compelling. It wasn't just a clash between two personalities, it was a glimpse into the gears of a machine that often feels disconnected from the people it serves. Every time a crisis hits, Americans expect leaders to act fast. But inside the machinery of government, speed often loses to structure. Patel's hesitation might have been a matter of legal prudence, but to the average viewer watching at home, it looked like paralysis. By the end of the hearing, nothing was resolved. No commitments, no promises, just the echo of a question that never really got answered: who's protecting America's secrets if the people in charge aren't even on the same page? Still, there's another layer to all this, one that goes beyond politics. When leaks happen, they don't just expose information, they expose weaknesses in communication, in leadership, in trust. If a member of Congress can learn about a breach before the FBI does, it suggests a deeper problem in how intelligence flows within our government. It raises uncomfortable possibilities. Is information being filtered before it reaches the top? Are political interests slowing down national security alerts? Or is the system simply too bloated to respond quickly anymore? There's no single answer. But what's clear is that moments like this shake public confidence. Because when the people responsible for security seem out of the loop, the message it sends is one of disarray. That's why Holohan's words hit so hard. She wasn't just questioning Patel, she was speaking to everyone who feels like the institutions meant to protect them are stuck in bureaucratic autopilot. And yet, even as the hearing ended, the story didn't. Behind closed doors, briefings continued. The National Security Council's review expanded. quiet discussions between the DOJ, Pentagon and White House unfolded, far from cameras. Whether the FBI eventually opens a full-scale investigation remains unclear, but one thing is certain, this confrontation won't be forgotten. Because it wasn't just about one leak, it was about how our leaders respond when the nation's security is on the line. For those watching, the choice is yours. Should officials speak out immediately when a crisis hits, even if they don't have all the facts? Or should they wait, follow procedure, and risk looking unprepared? Both paths have consequences. One risks chaos, the other, complacency. And as long as that balance remains unsolved, moments like this will keep repeating. But maybe, just maybe, this hearing will serve as a wake-up call, not just for the agencies but for the public too. Because the next time a national security crisis erupts, Americans won't settle for silence or slow process. They'll want answers, fast, transparent, real. And that's why this confrontation matters. It wasn't just a hearing, it was a mirror held up to power, showing us how fragile accountability can be when process takes priority over truth. If you think leaders should act immediately when the nation's safety is at risk, drop your thoughts below. Or if you believe caution and due process protect us best, tell us why. Either way, this debate affects everyone. Thanks for watching, and for more no-spin breakdowns of the moments that expose how Washington really works, hit subscribe, tap the bell icon and stay tuned, because what happens next could change everything.